Fantastic. All right, so welcome everyone, and thanks for tuning in to this webinar for busy lawyers. These monthly webinars are designed to bring you practical information in under 30 minutes that you can implement immediately in your practice. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Tom Lambotte, CEO of Global Mac IT, a national managed service provider that provides complete end-to-end legal technology services to Mac-based law firms. Tom's methods are based in close to a decade of research, testing, and real-world refinement of best practices, working directly with Mac-based law firms and firms switching from PC to Mac. Tom's the author of Hassle-Free Mac IT Support for Law Firms and Legal Boost, Big Profits Through an IT Transformation. He also has a forthcoming book being published by the ABA Law Practice Division titled Macs and Law. He's a highly sought-after speaker at national events such as ABA Tech Show and MacTrack Legal. Before I let Tom dive into protecting your Mac-based practice, I'd like to let you know that we will have time at the end to take questions from attendees. Please put any questions you have in the chat box since you'll all be muted, and I will relay those to Tom at the very end. Okay, so Tom, take it away.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining us today. So the topic is your Mac is not impenetrable and how to secure it. Many people think that's blasphemy when I speak such talk that, Macs are not as secure as they think. The big thing, so we work with Mac-based law firms nationwide. It's the only thing we do. We currently support over 300 systems. And so we've seen it all, and we continue to see different things. And ultimately, what I want to cover today is how you can avoid being a sitting duck to cyber criminals and protect everything you've worked so hard to achieve. So we're going to start with a quick overview of the real threat of cybercrime today. And then specifically, I'm going to give you a handful of actionable information that you can take and implement. I've really tried to get some easy ones that are so easy. Once you're aware of what you need to do, hopefully my intent is that you won't be able to kind of turn a blind eye. I found that the majority of Mac users are far too lackadaisical in terms of their approach towards security because they're on a Mac. And I'm a diehard Mac user first and foremost. My first was a 12-inch PowerBook G4. That was my favorite Mac ever. Actually, it's my second now. My 13-inch MacBook Pro Touch Bar is my favorite one and has taken the #1 spot. But I found that the old mentality is that Macs don't get viruses, so I don't need to do anything. And the main thing that I want to get across, though, is that cybercrime and the threat of what can happen digitally on your computer goes a lot farther, than just the old viruses, that we think of when we think of kind of security threats. Cybercrime is a thriving business. Cybercrime rings that we're dealing with today have become extremely sophisticated. They're well-funded. They're well-organized. And unlike other businesses, they don't have any rules that they have to follow. It's not just a couple of hackers sitting in a room. Okay, this is the new mob, and it's not only in one certain area. This is in China and India and Eastern Bloc. It's a global threat. And just because you're on a Mac doesn't mean you've got a pass and you don't have to do anything, that you don't have to worry about anything. Looking at the evolution of crime, in the old days, crime business was pretty simple. You bought a gun or a knife, you'd hide out in the dark alley. When someone walked by, you go, boo, stick them up, and you take their money. Startup costs, overhead, super low, and if you didn't get caught, you'd be okay. Just like any business owner, at one point, criminals started thinking, hey, how can I scale? How can I grow my business? So, of course, technology answered that question, and trains came along. So instead of just robbing one person at a time, you could rob 200-300 people. And robbing trains was a far more lucrative catch than robbing individuals because they were crossing remote areas where there weren't organized police forces. And individuals who were wealthy enough to afford a train ticket were worth robbing. So they rounded them all up in one place, and it was nice and easy for them. Thanks to advancements in technology and an ever-increasing trend of storing financial and personal information on third-party cloud platforms, the new train robberies are cybercrime related. If you think about it, if a criminal wanted to rob 100,000 people at once, that could never happen the old-fashioned way. Today, all they need to do is hack into a single large platform, and they can use advanced technology to instantly rob millions. And as you can tell by the increasing number of attacks, that makes the news every day, they're succeeding. Most people almost don't even pay attention to them anymore, which is really scary. Credit card hacks, 40 million accounts stolen from Target, 56 million stolen from Home Depot. In September of last year, what may be the most expansive data breach of all time, Yahoo announced that a hacker had stolen information on a minimum of 500 million accounts in late 2014. The thief, who's believed to be who was working on behalf of a foreign government, stole email addresses, passwords, full names, dates of birth, telephone numbers, and in some cases, security questions and answers. This is the scaring the pants off you part of the presentation, which is crucial because most people don't realize the threats that are out there. And just think about viruses. Again, I'm on a Mac. I went on a Mac, so I don't have to worry about security. They brag that they don't run antivirus on their computer. So if you look at the underground, the black market, you can buy a credit card for $5 to $30, $1,200 to $20,000 for bank logins. Online premium Netflix, those don't cost much. You can buy fake ATMs for $35,000. So this means I could go out, buy an ATM, put it on the street, and just sit there as people walk up and put in their PINs and all their card information. Anyone can buy training tools, services for committing fraud, hacking systems, buying stolen credit cards, etc. Now, no matter how small you think you are, the information that your law firm has is worth money. So again, the most common, kind of thought that goes on here is we're small. No one's going to bother to hack us. And you really want to give up that mindset. For our clients, we have a 5-user minimum. We have a few clients under that, but we typically work with law firms with a total of 5 users, all the way up to 50, most between 5 and 25. And the majority of these firms are very laid back in terms of security because everyone knows everyone in the firm. It's got a good family type atmosphere and that kind of thing. And the more relaxed they are, the more at risk they are. I'm not Target. I'm not JP Morgan. Why is someone going to want to hack us? We're just a small 3 or 5 person team. So first of all, these larger companies have extremely sophisticated security systems in place. They are not easy to hack. And if they are getting hacked, getting into your law firm is a cakewalk, which is why you're a bigger target than these larger institutions. The prize might not be as big. You don't have 500 million account information, but you're far easier to rob than larger institutions, making you a prime target. And since cyber criminals have automation tools, they can make a large sum of money simply by targeting a few hundred or thousand small businesses. Cisco's 2015 annual security report named law firms as the 7th highest target for cyber criminals, indicating a 50% year-over-year increase. Law firms are seen as one-stop shops because they have high-value information that's well-organized and which often has weaker security than clients. So again, you're not safe just because you're small. Email. This one kind of gave me the creeps when I learned about this approach here. We've all been the recipient of a spam message from a friend's email account, right? The telltale sign that their email's been hacked. Big deal. Since most of us don't even think about those, we delete them all the time. Frighteningly, though, the more sophisticated hackers, they don't send spam or email or leave clues that they're reading your email. They log in, they watch, they read, and they wait for the opportunity. When a sophisticated hacker gets into your email, they can gain so much insight into every facet of your life. For most of us, someone spending a week reading through our email history is going to learn about our banking, investing, childcare, business, shopping habits, not to mention the personal messages between friends and family members. Okay. Again, if this gives you the creep, that's good. It should. we've had cases where someone hacked into someone's email account, sat there reading everything, and then sent an email to their boss, asking them to transfer email into a banking number, a routing number. Fortunately, they verified the routing number and caught it. But if they had not, that money would have been gone, and banks are not responsible for that. The doom and gloom is over. It's a scary world. As you can see, the majority of these threats here have almost nothing to do with viruses, and they are a threat to Mac users and Windows users alike. You're not safe because you're on a Mac. And from our direct experience and close to a decade of working with Mac-based law firms, the overwhelming majority are way too lackadaisical towards security. Again, one of the first things we do when we bring on a client is we go down through just a basic checklist of a lot of security measures we implement because they normally don't have anything. So again, the gloom, end of the world part of the presentation is over. What I'm going to do now is give you 8 things you must do to minimize the risk to your law practice. So number 1 here is use full disk encryption. A 2015 tech survey showed that only 20% of attorneys were using full disk encryption on their computers and only 14% for solos. So if this is you, get on the ball. Enable file vault on all your Macs. That any computer that has firm data needs to be fully encrypted. So file vault is a solution that's built into your Mac operating system. To enable it, you go to System Preferences, Security, I want to say, I'm going off the top of my head here, and then you do Enable Full Disk Encryption. Don't do it right now, but at the end of the day, do that. You have to restart your computer, and it then encrypts the entire contents of your hard drive. Anyone without the login to your password to your computer, no one will be able to access the data. Okay, so that's the first one you must do. Super easy to do. Having a password on your computer does not mean that you have File Vault enabled. Someone with basic computer skills could actually open your Mac, take out the hard drive, which takes no more than 10 minutes, then plug that hard drive into an external hard drive case and have instant access to all of your data. Okay, so if you only have a basic password, that's the kind of security you have right now, which is not much. So please enable full disk encryption before the end of the day. Number 2 is to secure your backups. The majority of kind of solos and small firms will use Time Machine for backup. Some of them might use Carbon Copy Cloner or SuperDuper to create what's called a full clone, which is an exact copy of the data on your computer. It copies onto an external hard drive. Now, if all that data that's being backed up is not encrypted, if someone steals your external hard drive and plugs it into a computer, they have access to all the data again. Okay, so you want to make sure and enable encryption. So if you're using Time Machine, you go to System Preferences, Time Machine, you click on the disk you're currently using and you check that box that says Encrypt Backups. The second step with encrypting your backups, if you are using a cloning solution, the 2 most popular ones are Carbon Copy Cloner, that's our personal favorite, what we use with all of our clients, or SuperDuper. Carbon Copy Cloner has a detailed guide online that walks you through how to set up so it does encryption, for the backup. Next one is to use secure passwords and a password manager. I changed all my passwords to incorrect, so whenever I forget it, it will tell me your password is incorrect. It's fun when you say a joke and you're laughing on a one-way conversation and you're all muted, but I'm just going to assume that everyone's cracking up there while they're taking really good notes. A recent survey revealed that the average person has 19 passwords to remember, and an alarmingly high percentage of passwords are very easy to crack. Most people use 3 passwords. Okay, you have the 1 password you used to use for everything. Then your bank forced you to have a slightly more secure password. So you made the first letter a capital and you added a number at the end of the password. And then at one point, another website which started having even more secure encryption made you forced you to make it a little bit longer. So you did the capital first letter, a number at the end, and then you added an exclamation mark. So you need to use a better way to manage and create new passwords. Ideally, all of your logins have a different password. So as soon as you think that, if you don't have a password manager, your first thought is that's impossible. I won't be able to remember all the passwords. So what you want to do here is use a password manager. On the Mac, hands down, the best solution is 1Password. There's a few other options. This is just the go-to one. It's extremely robust. There's iOS versions. They even have Windows versions. So if you have to go between both devices, you can keep them in sync really easily. And 1Password will create a new password for you automatically and save it within itself. 1Password is completely encrypted, totally secure. They go through very, very extensive measures to make sure it's secure. A simple tip, if anything, write this one down. For password strength, go for length. All right. So in the past, most people thought they were making their passwords more secure by adding a $ instead of an S or an exclamation mark instead of a 1. What has actually been proved to be much more secure is actually length. So what we do, we use 3 non-related words, so it can make for a longer password that's easier to remember. So 3 non-related words, you can use a hyphen in between or a period in between. That'll make the length even longer while it's easy to remember. Okay. And a good password manager like 1Password can create passwords that can make the process really simple. One more tip on the passwords. You can enable multi-factor authentication, which might also be called 2-factor authentication, or you might see this 2FA. Without going into too much detail, what it does is it adds a second security criteria to your login process. So it's something you know, so say your password to log in, versus something you have. So oftentimes for a bank, when you're logging in from a new device that it doesn't recognize, it'll send you a PIN that it might send you a text message to your phone or send you an email to your phone. So you put in the password, which you have in your head, and then you get the token, which they send to your phone or something else that you physically have. So this adds a big additional security layer. So if anyone ever tries to log into your computer from a device that hasn't been recognized, they won't be able to, okay, if they only have your password. So it does add a little bit of complexity, which initially, people don't like. So I don't think you need to enable 2FA for all of your services, but at a minimum, start with the ones that have the most important information. So your case management software, if you're using Clio or Rocket Matter, enable 2FA on those. If you're using Dropbox for Business or Box or something like that, enable 2FA on those. Okay, make a list of the top 3 services you use that have the most important and most valuable data, and enable 2FA for those. Okay. The next step is to use a next generation firewall. Okay, most people, again, the smaller the firm, the more likely you are to run into this. A lot of people use off-the-shelf residential grade devices like Apple Airports or Netgear, something they bought off the shelf from Best Buy. The combination modem and routers that your ISP provides does not add much in the way of protecting you against advanced threats. The security definitions don't update automatically. They're pretty limited. Apple Airports are great devices, but they're not made for businesses. Okay, they don't offer the commercial grade, kind of security that you need to have in place. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to spend, $2,000 for some, super crazy, way over the top security device. The modern modems and routers are cloud connected. Okay, what we use is Cisco Meraki. So 100% of our clients have a Cisco Meraki in place in their office. It gives you a lot of additional security measures. The security updates are applied all the time, so it's always up to date. They can let you know if your internet connection goes down. You can do, it has built-in firewall and VPN and that kind of thing. So Cisco Meraki is a great option to look into depending on what you need. The next step for your security is to use a cloud-delivered network security service. This is one that's very easy to implement. So Cisco Umbrella automatically blocks malware, botnets, phishing over any port protocol or application. So if you get an email from someone and it says, "Hey, click here to reset your Dropbox password," if you click on it and it takes you to a false site, which is what phishing is called, Cisco Umbrella will automatically block that domain and kind of protect you from yourself. Most importantly, this is really useful for, maybe say you're tech savvy and you know what to look for with phishing attempts. That doesn't mean everyone on your staff knows how to do it either. So this is going to detect and contain advanced attacks, and it's a very simple turnkey solution. They have multiple levels. They actually have a prosumer version for 1 to 5 users at $20 per user per year. And this includes up to 3 devices. So you can install it on your iMac at home, on your laptop you travel with, and you can also set it up on your iPhone, for example. And this gives you a built-in VPN for your iPhone and your iPad. So if you're using public Wi-Fi's, you can know confidently that all your data is encrypted going through the Cisco Umbrella network. So here there's the professional and the prosumer. We Cisco Umbrella rolled out to all of our clients. It's a requirement for us. Again, it's turnkey. You can also do content filtering and different things at its most basic without any settings configured. Just implementing the security features are well worth it. So if you're 1 to 5 users, look for their prosumer product. Again, very easy to deploy and it's very inexpensive. It's one of those, it's so easy to do, there's no reason not to do it. Number 6 here, we got 3 more to go, is malware software. Again, this is a touchy subject. Mac users like to think they don't need anything, but I'll tell you what, when we take on the IT services for a client, anywhere from 20 to 80% of their devices consistently have some type of malware installed. Mac users think they are an exception to the rule, and I was in that camp for the first several years of doing IT consulting. I used to be really proud that not one of my clients has ever gotten a virus and that we didn't use antivirus. Times have changed. Now, on the good news, I still have never, in 10 years, had a client be affected and impacted by a virus, which is great. But that doesn't mean we should do nothing. There is malware being installed all the time that can collect information. We're able to, without this type of software, you can also pass malware or viruses onto someone else. There's an attachment that comes your way, and then you forward it to a client or to someone else. You can infect and kind of pass it on to them. So we run software for all of our clients, and we're finding items on a weekly basis that need to be removed, and that's with all the security layers we've already discussed that are in place. So it still doesn't block everything. Java and Flash exploits have been really common. Apple has even had a few security vulnerabilities in the past year. So it's crucial that Mac users take a proactive approach to this. The threats are increasing. So what can you use? 2 of them. One is ClamXAV. This one can be used to identify and quarantine mainly Windows malware. So it scans everything on your system. And the second one is Malwarebytes Anti-Malware for Mac. It was recently purchased by Malwarebytes last year, but the application itself was built by a Mac user for a long time. It's one of the best out there. There's an estimate that the flashback Trojan virus last year affected 700,000 Mac users. And so these were all users that believed they didn't need any antivirus software because they were Mac users, and they found that their false sense of security offered no defense against this attack. So again, get these in place, protect yourself. Malwarebytes is also very inexpensive. Next of the last 2 keys is mobile device management. Mobile device management, I want to say less than 10% of our clients, if even that, when we take on their IT services, have some type of mobile device management in place. And this is extremely risky. If you have any firm data on a mobile device, laptops included, so think laptops, iPhones, iPads, Android devices, okay, you need to have mobile device management because without it, you have zero control over your data. If you're using iCloud and you maybe sign in your paralegal on your iCloud account so you can remotely wipe it if you need to, that's not secure. Changing the password is also not enough. A lot of people will commonly say, oh, well, you know, if Susie leaves, I'll just change her password and then I don't have to worry about a thing. However, all that changing a password does is stop them from sending email or receiving email. All the data that's currently on their phone, email, attachments, contacts, addresses, all that information is still there and you don't have control over it. So one option you can use, I don't have it on the slide, but it's actually called Bushel, B-U-S-H-E-L. And if you Google Bushel and MDM, you'll find it. And it actually is free for up to 3 devices, and then it's $2 a month after that. And mobile device management, it doesn't give you access to all the information on the mobile device. All it gives you, it lets you secure, monitor, and manage the device. So if a device is lost, you click a button, boom, you know confidently that the data is going to be wiped securely. You can remove, you know, if you need to do that. Most times when someone leaves, we just click a button and we can remove all the information we had installed on that device. So it gives you a lot more control. It also will assist you in setting up new email accounts, installing applications that the firm uses, and that kind of thing. And the last item is to take a little bit of time and put proper policies in place. So, you know, again, the classic, the cobbler's son has no shoes. A lot of solos and smaller firms, you know, might not appreciate the need for policies, but all firms should have them in place. It's basic CYA stuff. You know, we hope nothing's going to happen to us, but we need to put insurance in place. And only 19% of solos report having a computer acceptable use policy in place, and then a little bit higher with firms with 2 to 9 users, but still only 1/3. So an acceptable use policy just says, hey, if I'm going to use a computer, here's what I agreed to do. Also having a mobile device management policy in place is also something that's required. So hey, I agree that if I'm going to put firm data on my iPhone, you're going to have access to make sure that data is secure and to protect the client attorney privilege. So the bottom line is that doing nothing is inadequate. If a data breach occurred and you had to sit in front of the ethics board, do you think that telling them that you're on a Mac would suffice their kind of security needs? And it simply wouldn't. So last thing before, I know we don't have much time for Q&A here, but make an action list. Take a minute to define your top 3 recommendations you heard that you're going to implement and do something with. Circle the first one, put a date of when you're going to have it done, and I hope this was helpful.
All right, thank you, Tom, for sharing your time and advice with us. I don't see any questions in the chat box now, but if anyone wants to get those in the next couple of minutes here, you can do that. We will archive this presentation on our website, masslowmap.org, and we will send a link to the archive to everyone who's registered. The truth is we have at least 5 recent webinars waiting patiently to be uploaded, and I wish I could get that far enough down my task list to get that myself, but the good news is that we should be receiving some additional administrative support very soon. So this webinar and those other past webinars will be posted very soon. So stay tuned to Webinars for Busy Lawyers as we get that backload of archived presentations up. And we'll be announcing May's webinar soon as well. And also mark your calendars for June 22nd and 23rd, the dates of this year's Supermarketing Conference. It will be held again at MCLE, and it will indeed again be super. So let's see, let me just check our chat box. Okay, we do have a question of how long, so length for a good password, Tom.
That's a good question. I would say, probably 12 to 16 characters. Again, the longer the better. That's why the 3 words, you know, I always have fun with it because I just kind of look around and then I just pick a word that pops in my head, you know, um, walnut, speaker, grass, or something like that. You put a dash in between and, that gives you easily 15 to 20 characters.
Excellent tip.
So.
All right, well, that's a fun tip to leave off on. Tom, if there's anything else you want to finish up with, it sounds like you might be about to say something, but there doesn't look like, oh wait, we've got one other question in the chat here. Okay, so is there a way to successfully wipe the hard disk, for example? Okay, I see. If you want to give a computer you've used to a kid.
Yes, that's a great question. And we actually found that with a lot of our clients, they would have Macs sitting on their shelves just gathering dust. And the reason was that they had firm data on them that they were just scared of getting data into the wrong hands. So you can do a secure pass erase when you're wiping a machine. I believe you open disk utility, you click on the hard drive, and you can choose I think 7pass is the DoD kind of government level, security erase, and it'll actually write over the data 7 times. So you can do that, and then you can install a clean operating system onto the computer, and then you can hand it to anyone, confidently.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. So it looks like that's it. So we'll wrap up here. Everyone have a wonderful day. Enjoy the at least beautiful weather in Boston. I'm not sure about Ohio, Tom.
It's very nice. It's going to be 80 today. Loving it.
Wow. Impressive. All right. Go enjoy it. Thank you so much.